Welcome. In this video I'm going to mostly explain the USS Nimitz Carrier strike group encounter with the UFOs. I'll take the stance that Commander David Fravors is telling the truth, and I will explain the FLIR video. Now let's start with David Fravors' account of the events. In early November 2004, the task group was moving down the west coast of the US between San Diego and Ensenada. Fravors then gives an account from the radio operator of the USS Princeton. Over a few days, about a dozen objects appeared at 80,000 feet and then descended rapidly to 20,000 feet. They hung around for a few hours and then went back up to 80,000 feet. On November the 14th, he is then deployed to check out one of these objects. He reports seeing waves breaking in a cross-shaped pattern, then he sees a Tic-Tac shaped object close to the surface of the water, moving side to side and forwards backwards quickly. He then descends to have a closer look. Once he does this, the Tic-Tac mirrors him to ascend, across from one another circling. Once close enough, he tries to cut across the circle to get a closer look, but once he does this, the Tic-Tac disappears. Commander Fravors then heads back, and another pilot takes off to capture the video of the object. So they physically exist because it gets picked up on the radar, it's shaped like a Tic-Tac, it can move in all directions at will. It has some intelligence because it mirrors the US aircraft, it's similar in size to an aircraft at 40 feet long, it can move quickly, it has no visible exhaust, it can disappear or move at very high speeds. So it can move quickly from 80,000 feet to 20,000 and then back up again, and a dozen of them appear on the radar. To explain these events, let's go back a year and a few months. On June the 12th, 2003, Håkan Kolting, a Swedish-born airship entrepreneur, sets the world altitude record for airships, reaching 20,435 feet. Here he is 8 days later at Idea City.
Before we painted that airship as a baseball, we had some problems. I flew it down from north of Toronto down to Buttonville once, and before I came into the Buttonville control zone, I was monitoring the radio, and I heard a frantic pilot call, "Buttonville Tower, this is Cessna, so-and-so. There is a big white ball floating around here. It looks like it has engines on it, but there's nobody in it." When I finally landed at Buttonville, the controllers called me and said, "There is 5 police cars out here. People have been calling in and reporting that there is a UFO landing at Buttonville." So by painting it as a baseball, that took away that problem. We have, there is some serious applications for airships. And one of the applications that we have worked on for the last 4 years is as a high altitude platform, where the airship is going to fly unmanned, of course, up at 60 to 70,000 feet, which is up in the stratosphere. This is about double the altitude that a normal airliner fly at. And up at that altitude, it will be more or less stationary. It can carry telecommunication equipment, replacing thousands of the towers that you have now on the ground for wireless. And it can be used for military purposes, for surveillance, for environmental purposes. And we have worked on a stepping stone process. If we're coming back now to Drumheller, our intention was to go to at least 20,000 feet, and we had a number of features on the airship that we wanted to check out. And this is, we were hanging a camera outside. So this is approximately what it looked like. We took off about 9 o'clock in the morning, and we climbing very slowly, 300 to 400 feet per minute. By shortly after 10, we were up at 21,000 feet, and that's the absolute world altitude record for airships. A normal, regular cigar-shaped blimp, they have a hard time getting up to 5,000 feet.
SPAS-70, the airship he set the record with, had a 56 feet diameter, 2 engines either side controlling the airship. He tested it in Canada. In 2004, he started to do flight demonstrations for the US government, using a modified version of the SPAS-70, the AS-62. The specs of the modified version was mission durations of 48 hours, maximum airspeed of 40 miles an hour, and it had 3 engines, 2 on the sides and 1 on the back. On July the 1st, 2004, flight testing of AS-62 was carried out for the US Navy at St. Mary's County Regional US Base in Maryland. There is a video taken on the day, but it's Associated Press video. Link to the video is in the description, but I'll give you some extracts. This is Mike Larson, president of TechSphere Systems International, the company who have manufactured the airship. He says in the video, well, I think of a couple of different government agencies for different reasons. If it's the Navy, you are looking to protect the fleet. If it's Homeland Security, it's protecting our borders, drug interdiction, you name it, as far as it's protecting you and I. Later on in the video, you have Michael Caddy, a senior performance specialist for the US Navy Aeromechanics Division, saying, well, it's being looked at as a UAV, unmanned vehicle, and we're also interested in it as a platform over Baghdad, to be used for sensors there, as there is an immediate need for that now. There's a lot of different services looking at that, especially the intelligence communities, to see what it could do. A military press release after the event said it flew to 10,000 feet with a payload exceeding 500 pounds. Also in the press release it says another version would have a diameter of 200 feet and would be capable of wide area surveillance and or telecommunications relay missions, flying at altitudes up to 68,000 feet. This version will be constructed and test flown within 12 months. Outfitted with solar panels and regenerated fuel technology, the 200-foot airship could stay aloft for months. 4 months later, in November, the USS Nimitz encountered the radar anomalies and the Tic-Tac. On January the 14th, 2005, UAV News reports that Naval Air Systems Command, NAVAIR, is placing an initial purchase order for the AS-62, which is now renamed to the SA-60. Quote, NAVAIR recently contracted with CYDF and has been flight testing the SA-60 spherical airship to evaluate its potential to satisfy the future military and defense requirements. According to published reports, NAVAIR's purpose in conducting demonstrations was to evaluate the performance characteristics of the SA-60 spherical airship and to provide the quantitative analysis to the Navy and other services for consideration of a variety of future missions. The main thing that NAVAIR is interested in is economical, persistent surveillance. An airship provides that better than any other vehicle. After that, news on the airships goes silent for a few years. Until 2007, in August, when Houkan Colting updates his website. Our latest airship is now ready to take flight. It continues, although this elongated shaped airship is stabilizing things, there are no moving surfaces such as rudders and elevators. Steering and altitude controls were affected by directed thrust from the engines, system developed and patterned by 21st Century Airships Inc. The main advantage of this new system is that it allows the airship to be highly maneuverable at any speed from 0 to full. This airship has no elevator wheel or rudder pedals, instead it is simply controlled with a joystick. Here is a test of his new airship in 2008. That certainly is a great piece of engineering. It's called the Bullet 125, 125 feet long. 21st century airships certainly made airships of the future. The function of the ship is for pleasure cruises and for sightseeing. In November 2009, the company gets bought out by E-Green Technologies. They tried to make a bigger version, the Bullet 580. It would have been the world's biggest airship, but it never flew. E-Green Technologies went bust in 2012, and Hokan Colting moved on. He set up a new firm, Flying Yak Inc. Work was done, but nothing took flight. Hey, but at least we got some cool concept art. So here's the explanation of the UFOs. Just north of the encounter area is San Clemente Island, and on it, Naval Auxiliary Landing Field. From the US Navy website, one of the primary military functions of San Clemente Island has been to support research and development of many of the Navy's weapon systems. The AS-64 was being tested in this time period, and a few months later, after the encounter, the Navy would place an order for the airship. I think it was being tested from the island. One of the purposes of the airship was for border security, and precisely for drug smuggling, so they were testing it in a live situation. David Fravors says himself he was expecting drug smugglers when he was sent out to investigate the radar readings. About the radar readings, the UFOs were going from 80,000 to 20,000 feet. The 20,000 feet reading could have been the AS-64 during a Navy test, but I still can't explain the 80,000 reading. Another thing that could explain the radar readings is every year in November, the Colorado River Crossing Balloon Festival takes place in Yuma, Arizona. This is only 320 kilometers away. The Spy-1 radar system they were using has a max range of 324 kilometers within range. I don't know what the hot air balloons were doing that year, but this could explain the dozen objects on the radar. Bear in mind that the radar account is second-hand information. I think that while they were testing the AS-64, they were also testing a prototype of Bullet 125. They were made by the same company. I think that is what David Fravors saw on that day. Bullet 125 is about 3 times the size of what Commander Fravors saw, so let's call it Bullet 40. Taking into account the airship could land on water, when it comes to the speed and maneuverability, Hokan could have used different engines or rotors to get forwards and backwards and side-to-side movement. This could also explain the speed of the ascent. The only thing I don't know is how it disappeared. Now the FLIR video. I think we're looking at Bullet 40 head on. The airship is slowly rotating to face left. And then bam, switches on its engines and zooms out of shot. So let's go back and review the list. They would get picked up on radar. Definitely a Tic-Tac shape. Can move in all directions at will. With modifications, I think so. It would have some intelligence, since it would be piloted or remote controlled. It would be a similar size to an aircraft if it was a sailed down version. Would it be able to move quick? I think so, with modifications. No visible exhaust, that would be yes, since it's an airship. I don't think it could disappear or move at very high speeds. Could it move quickly from 80,000 feet to 20,000 and then back up again? The AS-64 can get to 20,000 feet, but I don't think anything can get to 80,000. It doesn't on the radar. That would be possible misidentifications from the balloon festival, or multiple ships. That's all I've got. I don't want to speculate further. Commander Fravors did see experimental tech, and it wasn't aliens. However, I can't explain everything. Bullet 125 was only reported and ready to take flight 2.5 years after the Tic-Tac encounter, and I haven't looked into the encounters off the East Coast yet. Special thanks goes to Peter Lobner. He writes technical articles for the Lyceum group at San Diego and posts them on the internet for free. His research was fundamental for my own research. He went through all the sources available. I found his stuff while doing my own research. Without his reports, I would never link the two. If you guys want to learn about how these airships work, his articles are the best source. One more thing, in one of Peter's reports he says that work on the Bullet 125 started in 2004, but I couldn't find the source on this, so I left it out. All his reports are in the description. If you want to know how these airships work and other experimental airships, the Lyceum website is the best option. Well done to Hokan Colting. His inventions were so good the US bought them and they stopped development, but then they probably spent more money than that trying to explain them 15 years later. Don't know what he's doing today, probably in retirement. Final thanks goes to my bro, I'll call him Humble Thief. He gave me the initial thread which unraveled all of this. To finish up, I just want to say that everyone makes mistakes. I probably made mistakes in this video. All I ask is for you guys to have an open mind. There have been too many hot takes on both sides of the debate. This will probably be my 15 minutes of fame, so thanks for watching and God bless.
78 was a great year. I met my wife Elizabeth. Together we got the first flight in an airship, the Goodyear blimp. And 78 was also the year, the first time I know that I was reported as a UFO. I flew a hot air balloon over Bangkok, Thailand, and next day in the English papers there were a picture about the balloon, and they had had so many reports because this was the first time a balloon had flown in Thailand.